Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this City of Menasha Administration Committee meeting to order. Could we have roll call, please?
I know he's here. Alderman Langdon? He's here. Alderman Keehan? Here. Alderman Zielinski? Here. Alderman Rollins-Jump? Alderman Benner? Here. Alderman Nichols?
Here.
Alderman Taylor? Alderman Kraut-Kramer?
Here. Thank you. The first item of business this evening is minutes to approve from the Administration Committee meeting of May 18th, 2015. Do we have a motion? Alderman Keehan?
Thank you. Make a motion to approve the minutes of the Administration Committee's meeting of 5/18/15.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. We have one action item this evening, and that is the Quick Trip annexation petition. Director Kyle, could you give us an update on that and the action that you're looking for this evening?
So what's before you is a proposed annexation. This is what's referred to as a majority annexation, whereby the owners of 50% of the land have signed petitions to annex territory to the city of Menasha. By statute, the city is allowed to bring in an equivalent amount of property and as part of the majority annexation. As part of this process, and we've had a majority annexation last year as well, staff selects parcels which we feel have some positive impact on what our future growth might look like. We evaluate the parcels based on their proximity, their potential land uses, and also how it may impact the future prospects for incorporation of the town of Menasha on the east side. And so the parcels that have been selected are in the Racine Road corridor. These properties are all within the city's growth corridor as designated by the intermunicipal boundary agreement between the city and town of Menasha. Under that agreement, the city has the ability to annex parcels without objection by the town, and we may annex unimproved parcels without having a detachment of a parcel of equivalent value that's in the town of Menasha's growth area. So these parcels are unimproved. We do look at what the assessment is of the town property. In all cases here, there were no improvements. And we've then designated these parcels as part of the proposed annexation and the ordinance that you'll be asked to consider in the common council meeting.
And what is the requested action this
The
evening?
requested action would be to recommend approval of the proposed Quick Trip annexation to the common council.
Thank you. First, we'll look for a motion then, and then we'll open the floor for discussion. Alderman Taylor?
I'll make a motion with a Quick Trip annexation petition, but I would like to remove property A.
Is there a second for that motion? Oh,
Discussion?
Attorney Captain?
With regard to an annexation,
Nothing can be added or subtracted. It would just have to be approved or you wouldn't make the motion, I guess. Nothing,
with an add-
under the law, you can't add anything to a petition for annexation once it's begun, and you cannot subtract anything off of it.
So we're looking at an all or nothing.
Correct.
Okay. Then that motion is out of order. Alderman Zelinski?
Thank you. Greg, for parcel A, what was the deciding factor on parcel A?
There's a parcel in the city of Menasha that's just adjacent to it. There's a small house there. This parcel A is contiguous with other commercial properties which we feel has redevelopment potential and the potential for being annexed via a future annexation into the city of Menasha.
What is that house zone next door?
I believe it's commercial, but I couldn't swear to that.
I could see, wouldn't this pose more of a problem with the tavern being on one end and then the parking lot on the other, which is going to remain a parking lot for enforcement and
The
it's going to cause
issue.
more problems than it's going to cure?
The issue is that these municipal boundaries are essentially forever. And if we bypass opportunities to bring in what could become commercial development, future commercial development, those opportunities are lost to the city forever. And I recognize that some of the annexation parcels may not be in the short-term immediate interests of the property owner, but I think our job is to look at it in terms of, are these properties going to, over the long term, have a positive impact on the growth and development of the city of Menasha? And that's what criteria we try to use when we put these together, understanding that, there may be some dissatisfaction with what's proposed.
Okay, I agree with you on that, but what could be the negative impact of us taking this?
Well, for the business owner, in an instance like this, we would certainly try to work with them in the future to accommodate their plans. For the city, the short-term impact, if there were incidents in the parking lot, our police would have to respond to that, but other than that, I'm not aware of anything.
It just seems like we're splitting up a piece of property. I didn't even know, I thought it was all one all my life, but now we're splitting up a piece of property for a business owner. I find it hard, but now I hear that we can't subtract any. What statute, is that a state statute, and did we ever, I don't know, I don't remember all of our annexations, if we ever deleted or added anything.
And we're not splitting this. This is a separate real estate parcel, so it could be sold in its own right. We're not dividing the parcel in two.
Thank you.
I did allow some latitude with in Alderman Zelinski's line of questioning there, but at this point, we're still looking for a motion. Alderman Taylor? Alderman Langdon?
Okay, I'll make the motion to annex the Quick Trip or all, how many other? 1, 2, 3. Well, I recommend the Common Council to annex 6 properties to the city of Menasha. Recommend to the next Common Council meeting.
There's actually 7.
Did I say that wrong? So,
The Quick Trip annexation.
the Quick Trip annexation, yes, I'd like to forward that on to the onto the Common Council meeting.
On to the Common Council. Do we have a second for that? We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Alderman Langdon?
Yes, discussion, please. Thank you, Chairperson Nichols. Greg, I read parcel A, and I read the feet, but I can picture that lot. I've lived there. It's right around the corner from me, so I go by that quite a bit. So from the parking lot to the bar, I mean, how far is his land then going to be? So we're taking, his bar's on the corner, how far east is he going to have then?
About 8 feet.
Yeah, I don't know how far the setback is.
About 8 feet
Yeah.
from your terrace, your outside?
From my back smoky deck, and now I got the state coming in, taking 15 feet in the front of my property too to widen the street. So I'm not gonna have nothing. You guys are more or less bulldozing me into this.
We don't have unanimous consent to hear from the floor right now, Alderman Langdon.
Right, no, I didn't. I was just
should know
asking
that.
Greg how far.
You should know the impact you guys are making on a person's life.
You want to step up to the microphone?
Yeah, want to step up to the microphone?
We have to get unanimous consent from the council to do that. Attorney
Yep.
Captain, do we need a vote on that, or is it?
You're supposed to, you have not in the past. Generally, the way that you've done it in the past is if there are any objections, otherwise,
Okay.
So,
Just a minute.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I try to be a parliamentarian to the best of my ability and follow the rules up here. So I'm sorry, did we have a motion?
Yes,
And we had a second?
yes.
Clerk Galassi, did we for that consent to hear from the floor?
For the unanimous consent? No, all we had was just someone saying, do we have unanimous consent to hear from
Okay.
Mr. Smith?
So first I need a motion.
For the unanimous consent. I'll make the motion for unanimous consent for Mr. Smith to speak.
Second.
And we'll take a roll call vote on that.
Motion carried on roll call 8-0.
Okay, so, I got the floor now?
Yes.
Okay. So, from your place, you're saying you have 8 feet is all you're gonna have for parking there then?
Out the back of my deck, that's
On
all
the
I'd
back
end
of
up
your
with
deck.
after, if they take the other partial. Like he's saying it's unapproved. Well, I don't know how he's going by unapproved. That's why he said he can adapt this. And I still understand why a person from Quick Trip can have my land annexed with his annexation. It makes no sense. I mean, you guys are buffaloing me into this.
So how far does it go in? The annexation then will go to what? The railing on the back there next to the
Railing
car
back there to the-
dealership, correct?
right
It'll
to
go
the-
all the way back there and then
All the way
east
to the tree
to the
line.
house.
To the tree line to the house, which is about 4 feet away.
Okay,
And then plus, like I was saying before, now I had the state coming in and they're taking the widened Wissine Street there. Now they're taking 14, 12 more feet of my front parking lot.
right.
So all the spots in front, the 6 spots in front, I'm gonna lose them too.
So the only parking you're gonna have is on the side.
Yeah, on the side. I mean,
So Greg,
I just don't understand why you guys are.
with a
you know,
bar being there,
and
I know
it's-
I wouldn't build anything there with a bar right there. And that lot isn't gonna be any bigger than what across from the post office is, correct? About the same size or smaller even?
Well, you have to look at what else is in proximity there. We have a used car lot that has a very small building. There's very little value there. That area generally is in, a pretty high traffic corridor. I think there is possibility for other redevelopment to occur there. And I think, if we can consolidate this with some other parcels, this will have a positive beneficial effect on the community.
So the car dealership is in the city?
No,
So we're just gonna have that one little chunk then in the city?
today, yes. But as I explained, these boundaries are forever. And and you can see what's happening now with the proposed incorporation of the east side in the town, and you don't have to have too much imagination to see what's likely to happen, given what's just happened with Harrison, where they're now annexing in our growth area. So there's very few undeveloped commercial parcels in the town of Menasha, and this happens to be one of them.
Okay.
Are you gonna have a
Thank you.
form of putting somebody
That's
out
all
of business?
That's all the questions I got.
Can I have some
Attorney-
questions here?
Attorney Captain?
If I can just clarify, there was mention made of the DOT taking his property. I just want to clarify, the city is not taking his property. That's not what this is about. This is an annexation, which what it does is change the boundary line, so the boundary line of the city would just be changed. I wanted to make sure I clarified that. It's in a different municipality, so rather than the town of Menasha, it would be in the city of Menasha. So it's not that the city is taking property, which is different from when he's referring to the DOT taking his property.
The bottom
there
line is
any
I'm
other-
still losing the parking lot.
Are there
And I
any
didn't know
other?
this board is in motion of taking somebody and putting them out of business just so you guys can enhance your own tax roll, which makes no sense. I've been there for 27 years, and it's a highway robbery. I mean, and you guys own a business? I mean, how would you like to be in my situation like you're doing to me right now?
Sir, we did have an opportunity for you to speak regarding those issues during public comments this evening.
Well, you guys go around 20 different things, you don't understand what you're saying, you got an attorney up there double wording everything, you don't know when to talk or when not to talk.
I'd like to ask the council if they have any more questions for you this evening.
Well, I have some questions for Greg that might spur some questions,
Okay. Are there any
or
more
for Pam.
questions for,
At this point,
great, thank you. Okay. Alderman Zelinski? Yes, Alderman
Yes.
Zelinski, you have the floor.
Pam, at what point in these proceedings of this annexation did he have a chance to contest this?
He would have received a notice of that the petition for annexation was being circulated,
That he could have brought to the
and
council
it
at
was
that
published
point?
as well. Yes.
That we could have taken that part out at that point?
Well, you could have voiced an opinion, I suppose, to change the petition. What happens is the whole process starts over again. That's what happens. Once the process is started, you cannot add or subtract to it.
So at what point is the process started that we can't alter it, that all this stuff becomes time sensitive at some point, and now it's coming to us? At what point can we change that without, shouldn't these things be brought to us earlier as a council, or have they been brought to us? We should be dissecting all this paperwork.
Yes.
Well, this is the first that I heard from the property owner about his plight. And some of it I agree with. And next question is for Greg. What will change with his piece of property once it comes in the city of Menasha? Are there different rules and regulations that are going to be brought upon him?
The property can continue to be used as it currently is. If there are zoning nonconformities, it would be considered a legal nonconforming use, and the property could be continued to be operated as is. If there were future changes, then those changes would have to comply with the City of Menasha Code of Ordinances.
What is this property zone at the present?
I'm not sure of the exact class. I think it's B3 or something like that.
Pardon?
Is it B3, the zoning?
Yep. The only thing is, if you take my lot, I can't do any more additions because of my lot, the tavern will be in the town of Menasha, and it'll be a non-conforming lot, because you guys took the other lot I have. And the question before, as you were talking to, I called Mr. Greg Teal's office, I don't know how many times when I got this first petition, because you had to do two of them because they screwed up the paperwork on one other one. I called his office, talked to a Christy Hine. I don't know how many times I left a message, she never returned my messages. Finally, I got a hold of her. She told me I had to talk to Greg. I don't know how many Greg's messages I left to Greg on his phone. He finally got back to me at your last common council meeting on Monday and told me there is no formal way to think. You can come to council meeting and place your piece. say your piece. I said, okay, when is this? He said, I will email you and let you know. Well, I get an email that night, and it comes out to be that the meeting was that night at 6:30, and he already emailed me. That night at like 5:30. I was working. I mean, I just can't find somebody to come in and work it, because he emailed me that afternoon. And I've been trying to get a hold of him for 3 weeks to talk to him, and he's sitting there, and now you're trying to say that I didn't do nothing about this? No, that's wrong. And you can ask him that yourself.
Well, Greg, is this correct that the paperwork wasn't proper at the first time?
There were errors in the legal description on when the first notice of intent was filed. Those errors were corrected, and then we refiled all of the paperwork and renoticed the meeting, or sent the new notice of intent to all of the property owners.
Okay, but I don't know.
You know, when I answered my phone calls, I left you six messages in the last 2 weeks.
I returned your phone call, I think it was perhaps 2
Your last
days
comment
after
amongst
the
me
first
on
one.
Monday at 5 o'clock or 4:30,
And
after 3 weeks of trying to get a hold of you.
Mr. Smith, we understand this is an emotional issue for you, and we're trying to be respectful of that here. We do need to keep this meeting moving along here. Alderman Slinsky, do you
Greg,
have
was
any
there
other
any other
questions?
discussion with staff on the contentious annexation that this was going to be?
Well, I can pretty much assure you that when we do these majority annexations, there are people that are unhappy with that. And the one I recently recall had to do with a property on Appleton Road. It was very similar. The owner of the property did not wish to be annexed, and he made his concerns known to me and to the Common Council. But again, we're looking at this as something long-term for the community, and does it have and can it have an impact? Sure. And we try to mitigate that, as you know, as Mr. Smith here indicated. If he were wanting to expand in the future, there would be nothing prohibiting him from annexing the rest of his parcel, if that's what was the bar part of his parcel, if that was what was hang up regarding his plans for future use. Being in the city of Menasha is not the worst fate that can happen to a business entity.
And that should be up to the business owner's rights, not your Buffalo owner.
Well, I see both points of view here, but you're kind of making it tough on a business when you take half of his property and you leave him a non-conforming half. And was that discussion made?
The parcel that's being annexed is an unimproved parcel.
It's a parking lot. How can you improve it?
It would be no different than annexing a separate lot. The fact that he happens to be adjacent and there's some other associated use, yes.
What's your definition of unimproved?
Attorney Captain
And
is...
Pam, what happens if we delay this process and start all over again?
Well, I can tell you what will happen is Quick Trip will be delayed very substantially in the start of their construction. They will be paying damages to their contractors. This has been something that is very important to them and to get that business established. So if you delay this, we're going to be impacting Quick Trip quite severely. And then secondly, if we don't annex this property, which property would you suggest that we bring in lieu of that? And are we not going to have the same discussion with that party, or possibly with that party, when we do it? If you're not wanting to do these majority annexations, we can pretty much forget about, you know, incurring any other growth on the east side of the town. Is this a pleasant process? Not for me. I don't think it is for anyone. But it's something that I think we need to follow to serve the interests of the city of Menasha.
So there's a
In other
minimum,
words, you were saying that Quick Trip's more important than me.
there's a minimum of square or acres that you have to do. And this was part of it that you had to get together for the minimum
We-
amount that you were annexing?
We try to maximize the amount of territory that we bring in with these annexations.
So I remember the last one faintly that we had to take this other little piece because we had to get to 2 acres or something. Was that the case here?
No.
No, we're trying to, again, if we have 7 consenting acres, we try to bring in 7 non-consenting acres with the notion that unless we bring those other 7 acres in, it's quite likely that they will never be part of the city of Menasha. And, I mean, you can see the
Yeah,
writing on the wall here, what's
yes,
happening with the town.
I agree on both sides, but I wish could be more discussion before this came forward. There's no way I can vote against it because we need that portion to go forward. But this is a citizen of Menasha also, and it's a business. This really puts a lot of decision-making on our backs here because we didn't have a choice of which properties to take and which ones not to take.
Attorney Captain is waiting to weigh in here.
I just wanted to mention that under the statutes, there are various types of annexations. Some are direct annexations, where 100% of the parties that are annexing are the owners, and then there are those that are 50% or more. That's what this one is. So the statutes do allow it. However, it's under our boundary agreement that the city has with the town of Menasha, which I believe Alderman Zelinski was mentioning something about 2 acres. He remembered 2 acres. If they were improved, then we need to detach or something to that effect. That is under our boundary agreement. That's not under the statutes. And the way that this is being processed is in consideration of that boundary agreement that both the city of Menasha and the town of Menasha entered into. And this is the type of annexation that was acceptable under the terms of that agreement.
That agreement is supposed to not to go into effect till 2017 too.
Seeing,
And it actually ends at the end of 2017.
okay. Seeing no other discussion. Do you want to turn off, try to turn it back on again, because I don't see you. Alderman Taylor.
Mr. Smith, you own this property, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'll ask for unanimous consent to hear from the attorney. You want a motion in that?
If you have a question for the attorney, Alderman Taylor, you can ask the attorney, and I'll recognize the attorney to
No,
speak.
you have to ask for unanimous consent to ask the attorney a question. That's parliamentary rules if you want to learn them. She's not part of this body.
As the chairman, do you have a question, Alderman Taylor? Otherwise, I will turn your mic off.
I'm asking you for a point of order.
And I'm calling that out of order. As the chair, I'll recognize the attorney, as I always have.
Let's ask the attorney. We're supposed to ask you for unanimous consent to speak. You're not part of this body as the elected officials, but if you speak, you have to ask for unanimous consent. That's what Jeff Brandt always told us.
Alderman Taylor, this is your last warning. We have an issue on the table, a conversation about an
Right, and I'm
annexation
asking-
petition, and if you don't stay on topic, I will cut you off, and I will have you removed from this chamber.
Oh, you would never do that.
I will.
And let me tell you this right now.
Chief Psycho, would you help me out here? Could you please remove Alderman Taylor for just a moment until he calms down?
I'm asking for a point of order. Don't embarrass the community here. I'm asking for a point of order, and I'm asking the parliamentarian to rule on it. Not you, I'm asking the parliamentarian. No, sir. I am not giving up the seat that the public put me here for. Not because of her ruling. I'm asking for the parliamentarian to rule.
Then we'll take a short 10-minute, 5-minute
Well, is this set up?
recess. Thank you.
Is this set up? Will you let her answer the question? I'm asking the parliamentarian for a ruling.
We're at recess.
Any comment?
We'll call this City of Menasha Administration Committee meeting back to order. We currently have a motion to recommend and approve the the Quick Trip annexation and forward that on to the council, and a second on the floor. Are there any other questions before we vote? Alderman Taylor.
After further review and counseling, I will remove my question.
Thank you, Alderman Taylor. Seeing no other questions at this time, we'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carried on roll call, 6-2.
Now we'll have a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.